Guys, welcome to a very special episode of Comic Confidential. Today we are talking about the season premiere of The Walking Dead. And of course, we are here to mourn the loss of two very special friends. I'm your host, Kade, and alongside me today is special guest host, Elliott from Star FM Gippsland and Melbourne Southeast.
G'day, mate. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Look, I was good until I watched that bloody episode, and I've been in mourning.
A mourning all day. It's been just bloody terrible.
Oh, the more I think about it, the more it hurts my heart.
I feel you, mate. I absolutely feel you. Do you want to get pretty much straight into it?
Yep.
Let's do it. So basically, the episode starts with Rick, and we can see he's got blood all across his face, and you just know someone has been killed here. And man, Rick is looking super pissed.
Yeah, I saw the trailer, and I saw the blood on the face, so immediately I thought it was like splatter from a person straight next to him.
Yeah.
I was trying to remember who was next to him, and one of the people that came into my mind was Abraham. But I to be honest, I'd watched all these fan theories on that it was Michonne dying. Like the night before the episode, I was up to like 2 a.m. and I was watching. It was like an M in the blood, and there was like an M in these bullet holes. I was like, oh, it's Michonne. It's all symbolism, but not the case.
No, not the case at all. But look, let's kind of get it out of the way pretty early. We lost Abraham, and we also lost dear
Glenn. Oh, mate, from season 1 to season 7, for him to go out like that, like I said, the more I think about it, the more my soul is crushed. I think I'm more heartbroken than Maggie was.
Oh, mate, I think I got the biggest lump in my throat, and I had to look tough because I had friends over, and I didn't want to be that guy that cried at a TV show.
Yeah, see, I was by myself eating like 3 tubs of ice cream, so I bawled.
Oh, fantastic. So basically, let's get back into it. So Rick is super pissed, and he gets dragged into the camper van by Negan, and he's basically told Negan, I'm going to kill you. He does his his usual kind of spiel. So what we learn this episode is basically it's about Negan kind of whipping Rick into line, saying he's boss, and we get him driving around the countryside for the next hour, giving him a few life lessons. We see him kind of baiting Rick with the axe, go fetch my axe, you're my bitch now. Mm-hmm. And on this drive, it's revealed who is killed by Negan, and it's a eeny, meeny, miny, mo, and I called it fucking ages ago. Abraham is killed.
Yeah, I thought he may be the one to go, but in my head I was like, if Abraham goes, as much as I love him, I feel like that wait for just him to go would be almost a letdown.
Yeah, you almost feel like he's not that much of an integral character to the story. Yeah,
it wasn't like a Daryl going or a Carl going or someone like that.
Yeah, I feel you. But you know what? Abraham has just got the best final words that anyone can say.
What did it, suck my nuts?
Eat my nuts. And that's fantastic, He and then of course, Negan then proceeds to just turn his head into mush, into soup, whatever you want to call it.
I couldn't believe the shots they showed. Like I'm glad they did. Don't get me wrong. I think I would have felt gypped in a weird way if we didn't see it. But seeing basically Abraham with a little bit of red hair at the back of his neck was brutal.
It was. A lot of people are saying that, did the AMC go too far with the violence in this episode? And I don't think they did. I mean, I think people feel that way is because they've had a character that they've loved for so long just get brutally murdered in front of them. What do you think?
Yeah, well, you know what annoys me about the people that are supposedly complaining is that a lot of people complained at the end of season 6 that, you're not showing the bashing, you're leaving us on a cliffhanger, and then I feel that we got everything that we sort of needed as viewers in that episode. Like that, for me, was the most brutal episode of TV of anything I've ever seen. I felt like as sad, as heartbreaking as it was perfectly done, and it needed the violence because, and I don't want to go off on a tangent, but for me, you look at the bad guys we've had before, the dudes at Terminus, the governor, people like that. Rick never ever seemed broken with them. He never seemed at a point where all hope was lost. Whereas with Negan and everyone else with Negan, it's like, fuck, what do we do now? We're screwed.
Yeah, exactly. That's a perfect point to make actually, because when it came to the governor, in the comics and in the novels, he's actually really, he's psycho basically. So yeah. And the on-screen version that we got wasn't that. He was very charming. He was, I guess, He was too likable to be the governor. And the governor, he was very clean cut as well, whereas in the comics, the governor is this slimy looking prick.
Yeah, and that's the charming thing. Like, obviously, he charmed the pants off Andrea, literally.
Literally.
But Negan, Jeffrey Dean Morgan, is like the ultimate bad guy. Like, unbelievable. I think he's one of the best TV characters I've seen in ages.
Yeah, absolutely. And he has just instantly became the most hated actor worldwide.
Yeah. He's lucky he's handsome, because otherwise he'd be in strife.
Yes, indeed. And it's lucky he's Batman's dad. He gets away with it.
That's it.
So what happens a little bit later on this episode, well, after Abraham gets turned into soup, Daryl actually slugs Negan across the face.
Yeah, you know what? I was sitting there watching it, and I was, reading all those fan theories. Like I said, I heard about everyone thought Michonne was going to go. But I was sitting there, I was thinking about each character. I was thinking about Daryl, and I was like, there's no way, even though Negan said, I'll cut the boy's eye out if anyone moves, there's no way Daryl sits by idly without doing something.
Yeah, you just know, you're looking at him, you think he's going to do something here, surely.
Yeah, exactly. And then I don't know if you saw it too, but like a lot of people online have been blaming Daryl. But I think him hitting Negan, jumping out to punch him, he may have known that there'd be repercussions, but he would have thought that he would have been killed for it.
Well, yeah, that's a really good point, because that's actually going to be the title of this episode is Daryl to blame for that death?
Like 100% no for me, because like I said, he would have just thought him doing it would have meant he got punished, not someone else.
Yeah, right. That's really interesting, because like as soon as he got up, I was and he punched Negan, I was ready to throw something in my lounge room. I was so fucking angry that he did it. I was like, why did you do this, Daryl? You're going to get yourself killed or someone else killed.
Yeah, and he wouldn't have thought of that. He wouldn't have thought of someone else. Like I said, I don't know. He wouldn't have understood in the 10 minutes he knowed Negan just how fucked up he was.
Yeah.
And the fact that he's like, no, I'll save Daryl because he reckons he's got something in him, and then went to town on Glenn. It was messed up. But no, I'm someone that doesn't blame. I don't blame Daryl for it.
Oh, right. Well, I am going to blame Daryl, because Negan said, if any of you stepped out of line again, I would shut that shit down. No expectations.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, yeah, sure, he might have thought, like Daryl might have thought, yeah, he's going to kill me. But,
yeah.
I mean, that's pretty selfish of him to like just go out there and kind of throw his life away, considering that we've just lost Abraham. Does the group really need to lose another key member?
Yeah, I've tried to, because don't get me wrong, I understand people like yourself that feel he is to blame, but I've tried to put myself in Daryl's situation, who, like, as a kid was like neglected and supposedly beaten by his dad or whatever. He had Merle, the fucked up brother, and he'd have so many anger issues. And again, in that moment, all he would have thought after seeing Abraham killed is, I need to get revenge. And if he did think of that there'd be repercussions, if he was thinking of that, again, I just feel like he would have been thinking that, oh, well, fuck, if I get one on him, or I can hit him a couple of times, yeah, there'll be repercussions, but it'll be me that cops him, not someone else.
Yeah, okay, no, that's fair enough. I'll sit on the fence on this one. Then you've kind of you've convinced me. You've
swayed you a little bit.
Swayed me a little bit.
Yeah.
But basically, with him punching Negan, I was like, they are not going to kill two people, are they? Surely not. And then Negan, he's basically like back to it, and you see Glenn's in frame, and I was just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. Like you said, once Daryl hit him, you realize they were going to kill a second person, and obviously in the comics, that's the way Glenn goes out. And I was thinking, surely not. Like, Abraham is, he's not a huge character, but he's not minor like Aaron or someone like that either.
Yeah.
I thought they'd kill another minor one, but then when he took it to Glenn, oh, my heart shattered.
Oh, my heart sunk, and
yeah.
I was just like, oh my gosh, Negan just goes to town. That first hitting, you see Glenn's head, it's just kind of caved in and the eyes popping out.
Oh. What do you say, Maggie, I'll find you? That broke my heart. And then like hearing, it was like he was like beating a watermelon. Like the sound was so gruesome.
Oh, it was disgusting, but like it makes you love The Walking Dead, because people have been calling for, like, this is one of the most iconic scenes out of the comics. So, and it almost played out like panel by panel when it came to Glenn's death. So it was, for me, it was a really, really good scene. It's sad to see Glenn go. I was kind of hoping it would have been Maggie.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of my predictions. I got 50% of it right with Abraham, but
Yeah.
I tell you what, this had to be the most heartbreaking moment of TV I've seen in a long time.
Oh, it's just, and he's just like Glenn from what he was, like the pizza delivery boy that Rick met in, what was it, the first or second episode.
Yep.
And for him to go out like that, like it's just heartbreaking.
It is. It's really, really terrible. And I mean, that's almost not the worst part of this episode.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, the carnage, it doesn't stop there. We then come back. Well, Negan's brought Rick back to the group. It's starting to get into daylight, so you can kind of see the aftermath. There's just bloody puddles everywhere. You got Negan's man actually taking pictures of the
Polaroid. I nearly missed that.
Yeah.
I saw it like at the last second. Isn't that fucked up?
It is. It really is. And, that just pays homage to those earlier episodes from last season. It's just like, man, these guys they're actually fucked up. There's nothing more you can say about that. But what happens when he comes back is he wants Rick to cut off Carl's arm, basically.
I thought when Rick got dragged into the van for the first time with his axe or his hatchet there, I thought Negan was actually going to cut his arm off then.
Oh, so did I. There was so many references to like right hand man, stuff like that. I was just like, that is too on the nose not to like have a bit of foreshadowing of what's about to happen.
Yeah, and then that he was going to get Carl to do it. I 100% believed that he was going to do it. I didn't think Negan was going to stop him, so I was glad he did.
Oh, I have no more fingernails left on me because they are just all chewed off. That's the most nervous I think I've ever been watching a TV show.
Yeah, and what about Carl? Like, the poor bugger, he's not my favourite character, but he's lost an eye. Imagine if he lost an arm. What's next? Like a testy, a toe? Who knows?
Well, who knows? Like, it wouldn't be a great loss to the show. Let's just say that.
Yeah, he's like I said, he's not my favourite, but at the same time, I'd had enough death for one day.
Yeah, it was quite terrible. But what was really, really interesting in this whole scene is like you could just see the fear going through the whole group. Oh yeah, and with Rick. I've never seen him like that before.
Nah, he's that's what I mentioned. Like, we've had bad guys, but we haven't had anyone like Negan. And the way Rick has reacted, like, at first I was like, oh yeah, after the killing, he'll be sort of pissed off and he'll want revenge, which we kind of saw for a couple of minutes. But then when he took him to the van and, made him retrieve the axe and nearly made him cut off Carl's arm, like, he's just broken. And I've never seen Rick like that before.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, and it's such a turn of character for him too. Mm-hmm. Oh, look, what's your predictions from what happened? Well, actually, no. Let's continue because after this, we see Negan's group. They disband and they kind of disappear. They leave Rick's group there to kind of, I guess, absorb what's happened. Yeah. And my gosh, Maggie, the poor woman. As much as I did want her to die because I think it needs to happen, you just got to feel for her.
Oh, whether I don't know if she's lost the kid or not with that accident she had at the end of last season or what's going on, but she's crook enough as is, and to have that happen, at the end, I just felt helpless for her.
Yeah, and she wants to be the one to take Glenn away. And my God, even there, man, I had like tears welling up. Something went in my eye.
A bit of dust. Yeah,
a bit of dust.
What do you? I mean, it's gruesome, but without a head, is there much point even taking the body? I was thinking at the time, I was like, well, I just leave it there, but I honestly don't know.
Well, yeah. Well, the one thing that we've learned from their group is that they kind of like to bury their dead, like as in to honor them. It is a good thing to do. So.
It is, but without heads, at least there's no chance of turning into zombies.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Too soon. I'm sorry, everybody.
So, there's one thing that I want to touch base with you. Did you see the very subtle goodbye that Abraham did?
Yeah, the peace sign.
The peace sign, man.
To Sasha or whoever it was.
Yeah, Sasha.
There was a scene ages ago when they were, where they're living, and I remember he did like the peace to say goodbye to her at one stage when I think you sort of realised they were both falling for each other. Yeah, I because I watched the episode twice. The first time I missed it, but the second time I saw the peace sign. But he was just such a cool dude, Abraham. Like, he was, I could tell when it was going to be him. I mean, he wasn't going to cry about it.
Yeah, well, that's right. And he knew his fate. He accepted it. And that was his little way of saying goodbye. So that's another
it's all good. Like, I'll take one for the team, literally.
Yeah, exactly. And, I mean, the feels don't stop there because we then got a little bit of is it like an alternative timeline scene where we see Glenn is holding his little baby boy. Having like an afternoon lunch or something with the group.
Yeah, like he's at the head of the table and Abraham's next to him with his boy that looks like he's probably about 3 or 4.
Yeah.
And it's not like Walking Dead to get sort of sentimental like that. And at first I was like, is this cringy? But the more, because when I watched it back, I was like, nah, that just hurts my heart. It's well done. And it's just like what could have been kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so my question to you here, Elliot, is where do you see the show going from here?
Well, the good thing for me is for the comics, I only really read up to where Negan killed Glenn. So I'm not like, I know Ezekiel, King Ezekiel's coming into it with his big, what's he got, a pet tiger?
Yep.
Look, I think he'll play a big part in getting rid of Negan because he seems like a pretty powerful dude. But at the same time, I think they're telling the beginning of the really awful stuff. I think characters like Aaron, maybe Sasha, people like that, I think they're going to be killed off by Negan.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's Maggie in the end that ends up killing him.
Yeah, right. That's very interesting because, I mean, like I don't even think they've killed Negan off in the comics. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this all plays out. Did you ever watch Fear the Walking Dead, Elliot?
I watched I'm up to about halfway through the first season. I really got to finish it. I've only started a little bit.
Right. Okay. So what happens? Well, basically, I think these two shows are going to merge together probably by the end of this season, maybe next season. And there's a group that's called for the life of me, I can't remember it. Let's just call them walkers. And what they do is they walk around. They actually wear the face of dead zombies.
Okay, yep.
Yeah, and they blend in with the crowd and they turn around. They're an opposing force. So I think those two groups are going to merge together later on down the season. Okay. That's where I see this going. But what's really, really interesting here is that we saw that Morgan and
Carol
are not here. And they're very, very integral members to this group. Yeah,
well, I think Morgan in that place, just from the quick sort of previous sort of Netflix episode, I feel like, because he's obviously a bit more at peace with people than others are. I feel like maybe he'll sort of find his calling and almost become that Ezekiel's right-hand guy. Now, like I said, I haven't read the comics up to Ezekiel and stuff, but I think he's going to be a fairly good guy compared to some of the other ones we've met. And I feel like him and Morgan are going to have a pretty sort of close relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when Carol finds out, because Carol's like our Walking Dead Rambo.
Oh, yeah, she is a badass motherfucker, Carol. I love her.
She's a bad bitch, man. And when she finds out that Daryl, because they seem to be having a bit of chemistry. It might not be, sexual chemistry, but they got a lot of love for each other, Yeah,
I don't know. I've thought about that too, whether they'll actually hook up. But it's kind of like, and sorry to reference this, but, like the adult movies you see where the kid comes home and sees his best mate's mum and they end up hooking up. I feel like it would kind of be weird like that. But hey, maybe it's a dream for some fans. I'm sure she's still got it.
Yeah, I have no doubt. She looks fit. So who knows? I guess we'll play out and we'll find out what happens later in the season. I'd like to thank you, Elliot, for coming on to the show.
No, mate. Any time I can talk about The Walking Dead is a good time, even after such a sad episode.
Oh, mate. I might actually get you in next week because my current co-host does not watch the show and refuses to watch it. It is
sack him. Get rid of him. Get a new one.
He's done. You're gone, mate. You're bloody sacked. So, if you have any theories, let us know. Hit us up on Twitter. That's at ComicConPod. Do you want to throw out your Twitter handle, see if people want to hit you up, Elliot?
Yeah, it's at Elliot Lovejoy, but I mainly just tweet about soccer, so you don't have to follow me. It's pretty boring.
Nah, get around him, boys. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us, and we will catch you on our normal regular show this Sunday.
Champion. Thanks, Kade.
Cheers, mate.